All right, welcome back to Genius. So in this session, let's talk about the event object. We saw the event object in our previous sessions, and we need to understand what it is, what are the properties, what are the methods, what do we use them for. We really need them, okay? If you really understand this event object and working with the DOM, handling event and listeners, it's just going to be amazing, okay? So what is an event object? What does the event object look like? Now, the event object is central in web development, right? Because there's no way you manipulate the DOM. There's no way you will handle events that you're not going to be sure. There's no way you do anything in the web, any web application that you don't work with events. There is no way because users must interact with your application. And since they would interact with the application, those they will be you'll be listening to some of the events you might be expecting them to do. And when that event happens, you have to listen to those events and then handle those events. So when you're doing that, you have the event object, and you can use the event object to your advantage if you really understand the event object. So when handling user interactions in the browser, you really need the event object. It is very, very central in web development. Okay, so the event object represents an event that takes place in the DOM. So the event object will give you every details of the event that took place. That event that you were listening to, that event you want to handle, that event you're waiting for the user to actually fire, the event object will give you every details about it, okay? So it is automatically passed to the event handler functions. So when you create your event handler, all right, when you add an event listener to your element, the event object is passed to that handler function. All right. So it could be a click, it could be a key press, it could be form submission, it can be any event. So if this event object will be passed to the handler function that you have written to handle that event. So look at this one. Here we are saying element.add event listener. What event do we want to listen to? We are listening to the click event. So whenever the user clicks on this event, this function will be called. And while calling this function, the browser will give you this event object. This is the event object inside of this parenthesis. The browser will give it to you as an argument. And when you get that, you can now work with this event object however you wish to. Okay, so let's go and do something. Let's go to code and let me show you. So I think I'll just have to comment this out. I'll comment it out. Or I will just delete everything. I'll just delete everything. Okay, so now I have so here um I have constant btn, all right, is equal to document document dot okay document dot get element by id, and the id is child. So once I get this element, I can now add event listener. So I want to listen to, I'll say btn dot add um, event listener. What event am I adding? I'm adding the click event, and the function. I could use arrow function, or I could just use an anonymous function here. Okay, so remember, the event will be passed in here, okay, as an argument. So what do? I can just console.log this event object. I don't know why I'm not getting IntelliSense here, but it's okay. So now, if I go on and run this code now, all right, once I click this button, all right, the event will be consoled. The event object will be consoled. So if I go on and okay, so let me open my console. And if I click on this, if I click on it, you can see I got the event. All right, this is the event. Okay, so if I expand this event, then you see there's a whole lot of information here, a whole lot of properties here. All right, there's a whole lot. Okay, there is just a whole lot here. There's a whole lot here. Okay, so all right. So you can see the event there. So let's go now and study this event that we have. Let's study this event object, see the kind of the properties that are mostly used and also the method. So let's take a look at the properties of this event object. The first one is the type. Now, when you actually handle an event or listen to an event, all right, the event object that was passed to your handler function would give you the type of event that actually happened. So is it a click event? Is it a mouse over? Is it a key press? Whatever the type is. So this type basically gives you the name of the event. All right. This type gives you the name of the event. So example, it could be click event, it could be key down event, it could be submit event. Okay. So it is useful when the same handler is used for multiple event types. Okay, so I'm going to explain this to you now. This is very, very useful when you're using the same event handler. You can use one event handler, you can use one function to handle multiple events. So let me show you. I'll go back to this. So instead of doing this here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this function out. All right. And I will create this function here. I will call this function event handler. Although for me, I would prefer to have a single event handler for everyone. So now I can say I'm expecting a click event. So I can say here, I will just the handler like this. Okay. And let me also do some other thing. When we mouse over, let me do something. Okay. btn dot add event listener. Then what do I want? I want a mouse over. I want a mouse over. So when I mouse over, I'm calling this event handler. Now look at it. I have two events here. I'm handling two events here. All right. I'm listening to two events here, and I'm using the same event handler. So look at what will happen. With this, I can actually perform, I can do some, I can perform some operations based on the type of the event. So look at it. If I go on now, first of all, I will say console.log type of this event. This will give us the type of the event. But now, after giving us the type of the event, what I want to do is this. I will say if um, event.type is equal to click, all right, I would alert, I would alert um, clicked, all right? Else, okay, if event dot type is equal to mouse mouse over, then what do I do? I would alert mouse over. Okay, so now because I'm using the same event handler, all right, to handle both the click event and the mouse over event, so I can do some certain things based on my logic. I can do some certain things based on the type of the event. So based on the type of the event, I can perform some operations here. So let's go back to the browser. Then now we are handling mouse over, we're handling click event. So if I go on and look at it, if I take my mouse over this, you can see. First of all, we have mouse over. That's the type. Oh, okay, wait. Let me make this code better. Um, I would say, hmm, I would say event type. Okay, I will do this. So, all right. Now look at it. If I take my mouse over, look at it. All right, you can see on the console, it says the event type is mouse over, and it has alerted mouse over. All right, but if I click it, now the thing is this mouse over will be disturbing us because, okay, so I'm going to remove the alert now so that this alert will not be stopping us from doing something. So, um, instead of saying, I can just say console.log. Yeah, so that this guy will not be interrupting us. The alert is interrupting our program. So this would still work. So I'll go on now. If I mouse over, all right, you can see the event type is mouse over and the console was mouse over. So if I click, all right, you can see the event type now is click and we clicked. So if I click again, if I mouse over, if I mouse over, if I mouse over, so you can see the event type. So you're using this event type to get the type of event that was handled. So you can actually use this event type to do so many other things in case you are using one event handler to handle all the more than one event, multiple events, okay? So now, what of the target? Another property here is the target. The target tells you the exact DOM element that initiated the event, all right? So look at it. It is critical when using event delegation to determine which child was clicked. Now, there's something we call event delegation, okay? We will talk about it at the end of this session. So now, but event delegation is this. Like you already know, okay? Like you already know, we have this the grandparent, we have this parent, we have this one. So we can actually, because of event propagation, as we talked about event propagation the last time, there will be capturing phase, there will be target phase, and there will be bubble phase. So if I can handle this event at any of these places. So imagine if I go on now to say, I don't want to handle this event, I don't want to handle this event at the child element. I can call this event on the parent. So if I say parent now, all right, now it's no longer going to be on the button. This is now going to be on the parent div. Do you understand? So I will have to take all this. Okay. So maybe I can just remove this. Yeah, let me remove this mouse over. There will be no need. And I think I should just also do this. Okay. So now I am not handling this event at the target. The target element here is the one that we are clicking, which is the button. But because of event propagation, remember, I can also handle this event at the parent level or even the grandparent level. Remember, this event, whenever you click on this button, the event will propagate from window down to the HTML, the document, down to the body, down to the parent div, down to the grandparent div, the parent div, and stuff like that, and then it will bubble back. Now, that means I can handle this event at any place. Right now, I'm handling this event at the parent, which is this one, not on the button. So now, if I go on, look at it. If I go on and click this button, it will still be handled. Look at it. If I click on it, you see, it was handled. But who is the target? The parent, the place that we are handling this event is not the target element. The target element is the button here. That is where the event actually happened. All right, that is where the click event actually happened. But we are handling this on the parent because of event propagation. So if you want to get the target object, that if you, in case you're handling this event you're not handling the event on the target object. In this scenario now, we are handling it on the parent, on this parent div. You can still get the target object. So I can say event.target. I can say event.target. All right, look at it. I can say event.target. Give me the event.target. It is going to give me the object that was clicked. The object that was right now, this event is being handled at the parent div, not on the button. but the button is actually the target element. So if I say event.target, it's going to give me this button because that is where the event happened. So if I go back to the browser, and if I click now, look at it. This event, this click event is being handled on the parent div. It's not being handled on the button. But if I click on this button now, the event.target will give me the target element. And look at it, it gave me the target element. So in case I want to work with this target element, I can do whatever I want to do with it. All right. Now I can actually say, okay, I want the ID of this target element. I can say event.target dot. I can even say test content. All right, I can say test content. All right, remember the test content will give you the text. It's going to give us click me now. The test content will give us click me because that's the test of that object. So if I click on it, you can see it gave us click me. So you can do whatever you want to do with this this object, the target. This target event.target will give you the element that was actually clicked, where the event really happened, not where the event was handled. Right now, we are handling the event in a separate element because of event bubbling and event capturing, because of event propagation. But you can actually get to the event object by doing event.target. You can also do something like event.value. Let me see if this one works here. We use this one mostly when we are doing working with input test. Okay. Now, this doesn't have any value, but yeah, it wouldn't because we always use this value when we are working with input element. Okay, so now you can see this event.target will give you the element that was really clicked, where that event really happened. Then the next one will give you the current target, will not give you where the event was handled. The target event.target will give you where the event really happened, but the current target will not give you where the event was handled, where the listener was actually attached to. So in this case, it will give us the parent object. So look at it. See, here we are saying give us event.target, all right, which is the button. Then let's also ask it to give us event.current_target. Now the current target will not give us where the event was handled. Okay, it will give us current target to give us where the event was handled. Now the event was handled on this parent div. All right, that's where the event was handled, but the event was targeted at this button. So this button is the event.target object, while this div is the event.current object, the current target. So if I take this event handler now and put it on the grandparent div, that the grandparent div will not be our current target. So let's go to the browser. If I click, you see we got the target object, event.target, and we got the event.current object. And you can see it has all these. So this is where the event was handled, and this is where the event was clicked. All right? Okay. We also have bubbles. Bubble is actually is a Boolean value. It indicates whether the event will bubble up through the DOM or not. So if you change this value to false, that means the event will no longer bubble. All right, you understand what we mean by bubble, okay? So it can help you to determine if propagation will reach ancestor listeners. Okay, it would help you to do that. So if I go on and say, okay, I want to change the bubble, you can also use this one when you're creating your custom event, because when you're creating your own custom event, you can actually give these values because it's going to be in the object you give the event. So you can say bubble could be false, that you don't want it to bubble. You understand what bubbling is. You don't want it to bubble. So we also have another one, cancelable. When you say cancelable, now if it shows if prevent default can stop the default action. I don't know if we have talked about prevent default. I think we mentioned it in last section. But whenever you call the e.prevent default, all right, it will prevent the default behavior of that element. Okay, so the default behavior of an anchor tag is to take you to another web page. The default behavior of this form element is to submit the form. the default behavior of so many of them. So the thing is this, if you call event.prevent default, all right, it will not, the default behavior will be stopped. So when you say cancelable, it shows if the prevent default can stop the prevent default action. So you use it when you know whether you can prevent something like form submission. So definitely the cancelable is true because we can, on any element at all, you can actually prevent the default behavior. So definitely it's always true. All right. So if I go on now and say event.cancel, if I go and say event.cancel, cancelable, right? Is it cancelable or cancelable? I think so. I think it's cancelable. So if I go on and click, oh, sorry, I think I didn't get the name. I didn't get the name. Cancel. Okay, I used double L. All right, my bad. My bad. Okay, so if I click me now, you can see that it is cancelable because yes, we can cancel the event, the default behavior, which is the prevent default. Okay, we can cancel it. So, all right. Then if you try to go and, if you track the bubble, if you say event.bubbles, all right, it will give you true because yes, this event can bubble. All right, it can bubble. So in case you change it to false, all right, it would no longer bubble. All right, we showed you the example of capturing and then bubbling last time. Okay, so when you say default prevented, all right, there is a property of the event that now whenever you call the event.prevent default, okay, this default prevented will be true. It returns true if prevent default was already called. Okay, so look at it. If I go on now and call the prevent default, all right, this default preventer would be false. So it is useful in custom component logic to check if default behavior has been blocked. So look at it. Now, instead of doing all these things, I will say event dot prevent default. All right, once I call this, and then I will now say console.log event dot default prevented. I think that's the name. I believe so. That's the name. Default prevented. Okay. Default prevented. Okay, so I'm going to call this default prevented before I call the default prevent default. So look at it. Remember, this default preventer will give you true or false depending on whether this prevent default has been called. Now that the first time it has not been called, so it will give us false because it has not been prevented. But after calling the prevent default, it's going to give us true because we have called the prevent default. So you use this in case you want to check, has anybody called this prevent default before you can do anything? So if you go on and run this code now, it will give you false and true. You see, the first time we checked this property, the prevent default has not been called. But after we now called it, it now became true. Okay, so these are things you can actually work with and do something better with the events object. So the timestamp would also give you the time in millisecond when the event was created. What's the use case? It is used for profiling or measuring the user interaction speed. So basically, you use this one to know how fast the user is really interacting with your application. But this is somehow advanced. It's used in profiling, okay? So now, but you can actually know that there is a timestamp property on the event. So it's trusted. You use this would either give you true or false, depending if this event was trusted. This event will be trusted if the event was generated by the browser. It will give you true if the event was generated by the browser, or false if it's generated by JavaScript. Now, in case it is for security reasons, all right, in your code, you might want to only accept or handle events that were generated by the browser. You don't want to take any risk people can just inject JavaScript into your code and they will do certain things. So you can use this is trusted on that event to actually, you say if the event is not trusted, I'm not going to do anything. So if we go on now and check and say, I think I'll take all these guys out and say console.log, all right, is this event trusted? Is it if is trusted? So if the event is not trusted, you might not do anything, or you might do, if the event is not trusted, you don't do anything. Right now, it is trusted because it is generated by JavaScript, by the browser. But if it is generated by JavaScript, it will be false, and it can be a reason for concern, okay? So you can actually use this thing to do anything based on if the event was trusted, okay? So there, you can also check for modifier keys. You can also check if the control key was clicked, if the shift key was clicked, or you can check for control key, shift key, alt key, meta key. So they will give you true if these guys. So if you want to check if control key was clicked, all right, you would use control key. The event.control key will tell you whether the user pressed the control key. Okay. Shift key will tell you if the user press the shift key, okay? And the alt key will tell you if the user press the alt key. So you can actually do all these things, okay? So it's as simple as calling event.control key, it will return true or false. Event.shift key to return true or false, depending if the user clicked the control key or the shift key. Okay. So there's something we already know about the event phases, okay? When we talk about event propagation, capturing phase, target phase, and the event phase, the bubble phase. So when it is on the capturing phase, the event phase will give you one. Okay, so the target phase, this event phase will give you 2. On the bubbling phase, this event phase will give you 3. So if you say event phase, all right, remember you can actually capture this event. You have to put that event capture equals to true. Remember we did it in the last session. So if you want to capture by default, you can capture by default you're capturing the bubbling phase, all right? But if you want to get the capturing phase, you have to indicate that you want to use it, and we taught it in the last session how to use it. So you can check which phase the event is in. So when it is in capturing phase, the value of this event phase is 1. When it is in bubbly phase, it is 2. So you can say event phase. Okay, so if I save now and go to the browser and click on it, it's going to give us 1, 2, or 3. So it gave us 3 because this 3 shows that it is in the bubbling phase. Why? Because remember, this is not a target element. Remember, we are calling it gave us 3 because it is in the bubbling phase. Now let me explain to you. Remember, by default, because we are not capturing the capturing phase, we are not going to get this. But if I go ahead and say and put true here, all right, it will capture the capturing phase. So let's go back. If I want now, I have activated the capturing phase. If I go and click it again, it will give us 1. Now it shows us that, yeah, this is the capturing phase. But if I remove it, all right, by default, it will give you the bubbling phase. So remember that this click event didn't happen at the target phase. So we are handling this event at the bubbling phase, either the capturing phase or the bubbling phase. But right now, since we did not activate the capturing phase here, all right, we are by default doing the bubbling phase. So now this event phase will give us 3 because it is the bubbling phase. But if I go ahead and change this event to actually happen on the button, which is the child element, just forget about the name I'm using here. I'm actually targeting this child button element. So this click is now happening on the target phase. So if I go now and click, it will give us what? 2. If I click, it will give us 2. So 2 is the target phase. So you can use this thing to check at what phase is this click event happening. Depending on how you wrote your code, all right, right now, because this a click event is being handled on the target phase, that's why it's giving me 2 for the target phase, all right? If the other time, if I take it back to the parent, it will give me 3 because it's being handled at the bubbling phase. But if I try to activate the capturing phase, this event will be handled at the capturing phase. Okay, so event phase 1 is capturing phase, 2 is target phase, and 3 is bubbling phase. All right. So there's something we also call the event phase constant. All right. So you can actually get this. We can use it. You can use the event object to event.capturing phase. All right. If it is on the capturing phase, it will give you capturing phase, and capturing phase is 1. At event.at target phase is 2. These are the constant. These are constant. So I can say, give me. I can say console.log event dot event dot capturing phase, that is everything is capital. Okay, everything is capitalized. So now I can say event dot capturing phase. So these are constants. If I say console the event of capturing phase, okay, is equal to event dot events, event dot events sorry. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so now I want to capture now. If I run this code now, I need to explain this thing better for you guys to get it. Okay. So let me explain better. There's something we call constant. How do I put it? Now, this event is happening on the bubbling phase. Okay. So now the bubbling phase is actually event.bubbling phase. Anyways, let me go back to slide. Okay. Look at it. Okay, let me explain it this way. When the event is happening on the capturing phase, the event.capturing phase will be equal to 1. This is a constant, and you can get it from the event object. All right. The event.capturing phase will be 1. So the event.capturing phase will be equal to 1. When it's happening at the target phase, this at target event.at target will be equal to 2. When it's happening on the bubbling phase, the bubbling phase will be 3. So if I go now and say, now check out this one. This one is actually happening on the bubbling phase. So I can actually go and say bubbling. Okay, bubbling phase. I can go and say, is this event.bubbling phase? Yes, it is equal to this because this event phase will give us 2, and this event.bubbling phase is actually equal to 2. So if I go now and run this code on the browser, we will get through because we are actually taking this thing on the bubbling phase. If I change it to the target phase, that means this one will give us what? 2. And this one, we'll have to go for the target phase. I don't know how best to explain this now, but anyways, try to understand it. And if you don't understand, no problem. It is somehow advanced, okay? These are constants that JavaScript are created on the event object, okay? And this event class actually have these constants. So if you want to check, all right, if it is at the capturing phase, you can actually use this and do whatever you want to do with it. So let's go to methods of event objects. The first one is prevent default. You have already seen it. It will prevent the browser's default behavior for that event. So when to use it? When you want to prevent form submission, all right? When you want to disable link navigation, when you want to block checkbox toggle. So if you want to prevent the default behavior of a particular element, all right, you would actually call this event.prevent default. and then once you call it, the event, the default behavior of that event of that element will not happen. Just like when you click on the link, it will take you to a new page. But if you call the prevent default, it will not take, it will prevent the default behavior. Okay, stop propagation will stop propagation. Remember, we talked about propagation. So if you don't want bubbling or capturing to happen, all right, if you don't want bubbling to happen after clicking an event or after when you're processing that event, if you don't want it to bubble or you don't want it to capture, if you don't want this propagation process to happen, you just call the stop propagation method. Once you call it, it will stop the event from bubbling up to the parent element. You know, sometimes when you click on a button, all right, if there is any event handler on the parent element, that event handler would also be called. So let me show you this example of now. Okay, look at it. I have this now. I'm handling this event on the parent on this div, but the event is actually happening on the target on this button. So I can just say event dot stop propagation. The stop propagation. So if I call this stop propagation, watch, the event will no longer propagation. Okay, propagation. This event will no longer bubble to the top. That means this event will no longer be handled. Remember, this will stop bubbling from happening. Now, this event is being handled on the parent. So, but if the click event, when I click on the button, the event is being handled on the parent. So if I don't want this button to bubble up, I will call the event the stop propagation. That means this guy will not be called anymore because we stopped bubbling. So if I go on, all right, and click this button, look at it, nothing will happen because I stopped propagation. I stopped the bubbling phase from happening. And because of I am taking advantage of the bubbling phase to actually handle this event on the parent element. All right. So if you want to prevent bubbling from happening, I believe you understand what bubbling is. So if you want to prevent it from happening, right, you call the event the propagation method. So it stops the parent event listener from firing. That's what just happened now. It handled the event only at the current level. All right. And this is the example, just like you have seen now. So if you want to, there's something one we call stop immediate propagation. Stop immediate propagation, this kind of function, you will call it when you have a lot of other listeners on the same element. Okay, so let me show you. So when do you use it? You prevent multiple handlers on the same element from running. It will block duplicate actions or race conditions. Okay, so now let me show you something. Let's imagine, okay, let's take this thing back to the child. Let's handle this event on the child. And then I have this event. I will say I want to handle click event. Okay, I will call this click event. And then on this click event, I'm going to call stop immediate propagation, right? That's the name, stop immediate propagation. So I will go and call stop immediate. Should be immediate is double M. Please pardon me. Immediate, yeah, double M. All right. My English is no longer is getting bad. All right. Stop immediate propagation. Now I could also have another handler, and I will call it, oops, I will call it, instead of click event, I will call it mouse event. So you can see now, I'm having multiple. So on the click event, um, I'm handling click event. I'm also going to handle mouse over. So on this element, I'm actually handling mouse handler. So, but I have to remove this one here. So normally I'm going to say console.log I'll say console.log mouse over. All right. And here I will say console.log. So without, I'm going to comment this stop immediate propagation so that I can explain this. What's happening now? Oh, oops. Okay, so I want to comment this. Ah, ah. All right. So I comment this. Now look at it. We have two event handlers on this element. Okay, so when I mouse over, we are going to get this event to fire. All right. When I click this other event to fire. So let's go on and see. If I mouse over, you can see the mouse over has been consoled. And if I click, you can see I mouse over, I click, I mouse click, I click, I mouse over. So we have two events here. All right. Now, if I go on now and say, please prevent the immediate, I think I should take this guy to the mouse over because that's what happens first. All right. I'm saying prevent the immediate propagation. So what it means is this. If there are multiple event handlers on this element, prevent them, just run the first one only. Run this one only. Prevent every other one. So now that means this mouse over event will run, handler will run, but the click event will not run. So let's go and see. Now, because I have called the stop immediate propagation, all right, once I hover my mouse on this event, on this button, the mouse over event will be handled, but the click event will not be handled because we have said stop any propagation, stop immediate propagation. If that element has multiple handlers on it, it will not work again. So if I take my mouse over, you can see the mouse over is working, but if I click, oops, it's still working. Wow, what's happening? Hmm. Wow. Okay. This also happening. I don't know. I don't know. This is it's supposed to. Okay, see, I'm going to actually find this thing out. I'm going to figure it out and it is supposed to stop immediate propagation. All right. All right. It will block duplicate actions or raise. I hope I get everything correctly. Stop immediate propagation. Propagation. It prevent multiple handlers on the same element from running. Okay, and it will block duplicate actions. So, but I don't know what is wrong with my code. Stop immediate. No, that's correct. Stop immediate propagation. Okay, for some reasons, I don't know why it's not happening, but the thing is that it's supposed to prevent any other handler. When we have multiple handlers, it's supposed to prevent it from happening. Okay, it's supposed to prevent it from happening, and it's still no. Okay, all right. I don't know why my code is really not working as expected. So let's go to the next one. The composed part, all right, is another method. It will return an array of all the elements the event passed through. Remember, when an event would propagate, it will capture from the Windows object down to the target element, and it will bubble back. So if we try to call this composed part, all right, let's see what it's going to give us. So maybe I will just have to call it here. Maybe I will just take all these guys out. On the click, on the click, um, yeah, I'm going to use arrow function here. If you don't understand how to use arrow function, We'll be discussing it in our in JavaScript Mastery, so make sure you get that course. All right, I'm going to use arrow function here. All right, and I'll put in the event here. So I can say event dot composed path. This will return an array. So I can say console.log. It will return an array of all the elements that this event passed through, from capturing all the elements that are involved in the capturing, the target phase, and the bubbling phase. It will get all of them and put them in this array. So if I go on now and click, every element that was involved, you can see we have 7 of them. So all the elements that were involved in this event, from capturing down to the target to back to bubbling. So it started with the window object, the document object, the HTML, the body, the div, the parent div, and the button. So capturing, remember what we mean by event propagation. So this compose path, this compose path method, it will give you all, to return all the objects that participated in this event, from the capturing phase to the bubbling phase. So if you want to get all the elements that were involved in this event, you can actually use the compose path to get it. So what is event delegation? Event delegation allows you to listen for events at a higher level. We have been doing it already. You can see that instead of listening to the button object, the button element, we are listening at the parent. So it allows event, that is called event delegation. You click a button, instead of you to handle that event on that button, you're handling it at the parent level. Do you understand? So event delegation allows you to listen for events at a higher level, example, a parent element, rather than individual children. Okay, so at the parent level, you can actually handle that event. We have seen it severally here. We have really seen it. So even if I go back to our code, all right, this is event delegation. Okay, so if I take this thing back to the parent, all right, this is event delegation. I'm not handling the event at the parent, at the child level, at this button level. I'm handling the event at the parent level or even at the grandparent level. So it's called event delegation. The child is delegating the event to the parent element. Okay, so that's what we call event delegation. So instead of handling the event at the element that was clicked or moused over or whatever, we are handling the event at a higher level, at the parent level. Okay, so thank you very much. If there's any confusion, if there's any question, please reach out to us. We're always available for you. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next chapter.